another edition of Fight Court. I'm Dean Thomas, joined by, as usual, Ryan Quinn, and today we have a very special guest, a man that we always love to talk to, King Muhammad Lawal. King Mo, right off the bat, what's popping?
Man, nothing really, I just got off the phone with my boy Rizvan Kanayev. I'm saying his name right, I'm not sure, I'm probably butchering it. But he just got the call to fight Junior Tafa this weekend. So, looks like I'm going to Vegas to watch my Russian whoop some ass.
I love it, man. Hey, listen, short notice fights, man. That's always a good opportunity to showcase your skills. But the topic of today, UFC 307, just took place over the weekend in Salt Lake City. I'm actually headed to Salt Lake City tomorrow or Wednesday for Karate Combat, but let's talk about last week. And the one thing that I could think about, the only thing that I could think about watching the main event, we're going to get into the whole card, but I got to bring this up about the main event because I got Mo here. But the only thing I thought of after that first round in the main event was Khalil Roundtree was fighting real dark skin.
Yeah.
And I thought about you, Mo. I thought about you. I said, he fighting dark skin. Because I ain't know he had it in him, you know what I'm saying? Because Khalil, we know he had power, but I thought he was going to get intimidated.
Not me. See, I've done my research. Anytime you see a black man that frequents mosh pits and can do the rock and roll, like the yelling,
yep.
I know he ain't no joke.
It's true, man. It's true because the amount of ridicule he probably had to put up with in the beginning when he first stepped out there, and then to get accepted in the mosh pit and yelling with them heavy metal dudes, he built different, man.
You seen that? You seen the video of him, right?
Yeah.
And that's his thing, man. And I guess he fights. He did Muay Thai. He did mosh pit fighting. He does MMA. And he's black that does mosh pit fighting. And I heard, wasn't he overweight at one point?
Yeah, he was like 300 pounds.
He got in MMA to get in shape or something like that.
Yeah, so just think about all the things he's been through mentally. Because, there have been people that have jumped into combat sports to lose weight. And, Jared, I don't know if Jared Cannonier was, but there have been very few that have been successful and made it to this level as him. So, my hat's off to him. And I think that, he showed the world something, man.
Yeah, I thought his performance was actually the bigger story for me.
Yeah.
Than Alex Pereira winning the fight, because we all kind of had Alex winning, right? Except for the couple people who, we had this Cinderella story in our head. But Ryan, we talked about it last week. What'd you think of the fight?
Well, I saw a picture of Khalil Roundtree when he got into MMA, and he look how I look when I was in shape for a fight. So I was like, damn, that's disappointing. But I'll tell you, man, and I purposely looked at the clock after I saw this. There was 2 combinations that he threw in the first minute and 10 seconds of that fight, where if he made the adjustment, fight would have been over. And the adjustment was, the first one was he threw a 2-punch combination where he just missed. If he followed the left with a right hook, he might have clipped him and caught him. And then he made the adjustment, but then he only do 3 punches. Alex is going to learn too. We talk Dean all the time about how he downloads information, doesn't make the same mistake. So in that aspect, he did make the adjustment, and then he threw a 3-punch combination 20 seconds later, but then he should have threw a 4th punch and he would have knocked him out. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. So during the broadcast, I brought this up, was that Alex was using space behind him for his defense, because he was just, when Khalil pushed forward, he kind of ran backwards.
Yeah.
I was just saying, if Khalil would just kind of walk him into that fence a little bit where there was limited space behind him, he wouldn't have been able to. I don't think he was able to, could have dealt with the speed with just his defense alone, because Alex doesn't really seem to have the greatest defense. He holds his hands kind of low, and
his body type is his defense almost.
Yeah, but I think that his body type and the fact that he carries so much power.
Yeah, that's a threat. The threat.
If you're blitzing him, you risk the chance of running into a check hook, a nasty one hitter quitter check hook. So, like, you can throw more, but the closer you get, you're getting that range, that mid range, to where you can run to that left hook. So, like, when you're in there, it might seem, I think maybe that because he fights so tall and he fights so awkward and his hands are kind of low that you kind of second guess yourself, like, should I get in there? Or the range might be off, because he can kick. His kicks come fast. His punches come fast. He can knee. He's very dangerous going forward and backwards, and I know, like, you take the risk of blitzing in there.
So I don't want to take anything away from Alex's performance. So, like, I'm giving a lot of high praise to Khalil, but for Alex to be able to lose those 3 rounds in the way he did, but also accumulate enough damage to when he was actually able to start amounting his offense, he just ran away with it. Because when you think about it, like, he lost those 3 rounds, but accumulated enough damage on Khalil to when in the 4th round he was able to turn it on.
Khalil was the 3rd round,
kind of broken. Well, I mean, maybe not. Maybe I just am giving.
I thought he won a lot of credit for that. It doesn't matter, but I thought he won the 3rd round.
Yeah, I mean, but when he turned the table, right?
The tide started to change.
Yeah,
the momentum started to change.
Khalil, after the 1st round, what I said, then he made the proper adjustment, or his coach saw it. His coaches saw it. Whatever the case was, it was beautifully executed. He started doubling up on the straight left, close the distance. So, and then he was throwing 4 or 5 punch combinations, but Alex adjusted again. Instead of backing up, he did start to create some angles to try to see if he can create the check hook or the right high kicks, which wasn't working all night, which was pretty awesome. And Khalil's right as well.
I know his movement looked fantastic, and I thought that was what gave Alex some problems. Not a lot of guys have been able to move on Alex like that, kind of just have that speed, man. Like, he was very loose, and like in the way he was throwing punches, like his movement was good. He was throwing good punches, and he put on a hell of a performance. But I think the bigger story was his toughness at the end of it, like the beating that he was able to take. And then, what it reminded me of? It reminded me, like, the way he fell reminded me of Roy McDonald, Robbie Lawler, just not able to take another one. Like, I just can't take no more.
I agree.
Yeah, like, like his mind was like, stay up, but his body said, go down.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a terrible place to be in a fight. I mean, us looking at that, us watching that, I mean, we have so much respect for that, because that's what we want from our fighters. When you think about it, that's what we want from our fighters. Like, Mario Bautista's taken a tremendous amount of heat for his fight because he fought a good fight in order to get the decision. But what we want from our fighters as fans is for them to go out like Khalil Roundtree, but not everybody is built that way. In fact, I'm more than willing to say only a very small percentage of fighters are built that way. Like, I didn't even think Khalil Roundtree was built that way.
Well, I think that all fighters are built that way for a certain amount of time. Like,
could be.
You can't have multiple fights where you're a blood and guts fighter. Because you have fights like that, you'll be like, your career won't last that long. The accumulation of damage will just ruin your career. You'll have brain damage. You'll be stuttering. Your career will not last that long if you fight like that. It's exciting. The excitement brings about short careers.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we can come back to this, but I want to get some thoughts on some of the other fights. Ryan, I'm going to come to you first on this co-main event between Juliana Pena and Raquel Pennington. What are your main thoughts? And then, first off, who do you think won the fight?
I thought Raquel won. That was my first thought. I thought it came down to the 5th round, and I thought that she connected, did enough damage, dominance, whatever you want to call it, with the judges in the 5th round to win that fight. She also was controlling the dance. It came down to the fifth round, and it just how'd you score the 5th round? And that's I thought that Raquel, I thought that she started to look a little bit older. She wasn't creating the angles. She wasn't finishing exchanges like she had been previously, which was the success in her 2nd run. But I still felt she did enough to win that round. And I tried watching it again, and I just don't see it any other way.
Well, I don't think I needed to watch it again. I was pretty shocked when I heard the decision. Like, I'm glad she won, actually, because I think she's just a more charismatic champion. And, you know, as a person who works for the organization that relies on seats being sold, you know, you kind of want a charismatic champion in that spot. So but she didn't. Like, in my heart, I can't watch that fight and honestly say, yeah, she won this fight. I can't say that. Right? King Mo, what did you think?
You know what? I feel like Pennington won, but it was close. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, you know, like I feel like, you know, I feel like you could say, you know, well, I wouldn't say it was a pure robbery. You know what I'm saying? I think that, you know, it was close enough to where someone thought that, you know, someone gave a opinion of the decision, but I don't know. Honestly, the fight was not what I expected it to be, really. You know,
that was my initial thought. When this first round came out, man, I said, like, all they were doing was jabbing, and I said, tactically, they're fighting like 12-round boxers, like going out jabbing each other. Like, I was like, what are they doing? I was confused.
I was thinking people like more like, okay, you know what? Peyton's probably gonna get out. She's probably gonna get banged up because usually in the first few rounds she gets banged up, and then towards the end, you know what I'm saying, she comes on strong and she gets the victory somehow with submission or something. So I thought that was gonna happen, and all of a sudden I'm out there saying like, this ain't happening. I'm like, okay, well, let's see where this goes.
Dog, I was confused, and in my head, because I'm and my analytical mind is always working when I'm watching fights, and I'm thinking, and I'm watching Bilal Muhammad in the corner, listening to the Valley team, and I'm just thinking, what was their strategy? Like, what was like their game plan going in? Like, it couldn't have been to jab and win this fight. Like, for both of them, that couldn't have been the strategy, and I'm wondering what they were doing. Ryan, what did you think?
I was waiting for more aggressive on Juliana's side. I thought that Raquel with the boxing was going to end up doing that stuff. I thought that she would wait for the later rounds to push a little bit more. But yeah, it was a little bit slower than I thought. Overall, I did think it was a very good fight, though. I got to throw it back at you for a minute. Did you think it was boring, Dean?
It wasn't boring in a sense of like,
it wasn't a barn burner, but was it boring?
No, it was very tactical and competitive, which sometimes can make the story and the drama of the competitiveness and it being so close could make it interesting. Like, there wasn't a lot of big moments, but there were enough moments that it made it interesting.
What'd you say?
It's kind of tit for tat.
Yeah.
And also depends on what you prefer, because it wasn't like you know, sometimes in MMA, some of the shots are landing, but they're not landing very, very clean. You know what I'm saying? Like, they land, but like, you know, what do you prefer? You know, like, so, like, I don't know.
I thought it was exciting in this aspect. It wasn't. I thought it was going to be what you would normally think of exciting, but it was a little different here. Let's just, for argument's sake, let's stick to what I was saying. Let's say Raquel won rounds 1, 3, and 5. She won the rounds with boxing, but then in rounds 2 and 4, Pena won Juliana won the ground with won the fight with ground control. So you saw winning with wrestling, winning with boxing, winning with grappling. So I like that we saw a diversity in the game with that fight.
Yeah, that's and I don't think it was boring. Like I said, the competitive nature of it just added some drama to it. Like, going into a 5th round when it's even, it's always kind of exciting because it really turns into a 1-round fight. Mm-hmm. And that's always a bit exciting. So I had no issue with that. The judges were on display all night. I thought that the judges were, I think it's just the judging, the way we judge fights, but the Mario Bautista fight and Jose Aldo fight, like, everybody's saying that Mario Bautista shouldn't have won. I thought he won. Am I tripping?
I thought he won.
Yeah. I thought he clearly won. I was like,
my bad, cut you off, Dave, but this is where open scoring I thought would help educate the masses, because if everybody's seeing one thing and it's kind of close and they're like, the judges won, then they could be like, you know what, how? Or maybe someone could point out how. I think maybe for the open scoring, judges would be like, all right, you know, 10-9, so-and-so control, 10-9, so-and-so damage, you know, like, say 10-9, so-and-so ring generalship. They should put down why, so the crowd would see. And then also, the corners and the fighters themselves would have an idea of what is being scored and what's being weighed more than other things.
Yep. I agree, because then you know what the judges are looking for, and you could base what your next round is going to be around.
The judges, you can please the judges. You can please the judges.
Yes, that's part of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Just being able to please the judges. And I was blown away by the backlash that I was getting on Mario Bautista. I'm like, man, because like during the whole fight, I'm like, he's like Aldo's guessing. He doesn't really know how to approach this. Like he's allowing himself to get put up against the fence. Yep. And then everybody's like blaming Bautista for that. And I'm like, that's not Bautista's responsibility to allow Aldo an opportunity to punch him. It's not his responsibility. That's Aldo's job.
Yeah. I think that was somebody said that beside you in the broadcast.
That's the fans. Like, so a lot of Aldo fans, Aldo's a beast. A lot of Aldo fans are hoping that, he would get knockout or some type of flurry to finish the round off or something. And he never had the chance to really get anything out because Bautista would change levels, shoot double and come to an underhook and drop back down and just keep him on the cage. And he did a smart thing because he went off the duration. Keeping him on the cage control durations, part of the criteria. It's in the criteria to win a fight.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty clear, actually. I was like, I didn't know what everybody else was seeing. I was like, this is pretty clear to me. And when I think it was just a matter of that people liked Aldo so much better and that bias towards him that you just wanted to see him do better and you wanted to see him win. But and if he's going to lose, I guess you want to see him get beat up, right? Because like it's clear and he can go out on his shield. But you don't want to see a hero just get held. But that's not Mario's job. That's not his responsibility to make sure that Aldo has a chance. Yeah, it's a weird thing. How about Kayla Harrison? Mo, coming to you first. Kayla Harrison, what do you think of her performance?
I think she did what she had to do. Her opponent, Vera, I feel like she's very defensive. She didn't take any major risks. The only thing she did great during the fight, she went to the body, threw a few body shots, but she did not take any risks. And that's what made, a lot of times when you're competing against somebody that's just trying to keep it close, it looks close and looks bad, even though that person is doing nothing to really try to get the victory. And that's what we saw on Saturday night with Kayla Harrison and Ketlen Vera. We saw one person trying to make the fight, and we saw the other person trying to keep the fight close in hopes that they could steal it at the very end of each round.
Yeah, I like watching Ketlen. She's got a uniquely very uninviting stance to try to open up against, whether it's striking or wrestling. And that to what you're saying, though, her being so defensive, she comes off as she's kind of slow. I thought she kept up the volume a little bit more towards the end of the fight on Kayla, although I thought Kayla won that fight pretty convincingly.
And she didn't throw much, man. Like she was thinking about this. She's on her back and she tried to play guard and she maybe threw a few kicks and actually she got kicked. She getting dropped with the inside leg kick.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so if anything, Ketlen, she was throwing a body shot. She threw a straight right to the body a few times, and that was it. And the elbows.
Yeah,
those are some good elbows she threw.
I was disappointed in her. Not necessarily. I didn't give her a lot of opportunity to win this fight in the beginning because I knew how slow she was. And you have to match some athletic. You got to at least be able to match a bit of athleticism when you're fighting an athlete as good as Kayla Harrison, who's also as skilled as Kayla Harrison. And when you're just that slow, you're praying for a miracle like an elbow like that. And that was evident that because she was just too slow. And I knew that going in, but she didn't fight a great fight. She didn't fight like a dog fight to try to give herself an opportunity to win. And it was kind of disappointing to see that. But because when she fought other females, she was able to look better because I think she was just intimidated by Kayla. Like, did you see how much she wanted to shake her hand and hug her and be nice to her? Like, you can't, when you go on an opportunity like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. You gotta go. I think that coupled with how slow she is just killed her fight. It was
I think Kayla opening up with that takedown too, the left hand or the knee tap thingy. I think that threw her off because there's a lot to think about with that. There's an overhand left coming. I think that even slowed her down even more.
The inside leg kick, the blitzes, so she shifted to throw the double jab at the very end, the takedown attempts, the kick. Kayla was just better and more aggressive all around. The cage control, other than the elbow and a few body shots, I can tell you any moments that Kayla won, and maybe the second round was the only close round because Kayla didn't do much because she's running and fleeing, and Kayla was trying to press the fight, and and in that moment she's trying to press the fight from the cage. She got hit with the elbow, and it did damage. That was the only thing I could think of that Ketlin did. That and some body shots too.
See, here's the thing too, especially when it comes to Kayla Harrison, is that Olympic pedigree. Having that and knowing how to compete at a high level is so important that these other fighters, especially women in these divisions, just don't have it. And that was why I said Ronda did so well in the beginning, because she came from the Olympics and she's fighting, the next closest female to her was Miesha Tate, who had high school wrestling. I mean, what a difference in just level of competition that is, thought process and knowing how to compete. So Kayla Harrison goes out there winning 2 gold medals, fighting this, Ketlin Vieira, who doesn't have that level of dog in her or competition in her. And they go in and they go out there, and Kayla performs like a winner. She's competing like she knows she's going to win, while these other females are just out there kind of like praying and hoping to get something off. And it's not unfair. It's not unfair, but there is a big difference, in which is the reason why Kayla Harrison is probably going to be the next UFC champ. I can't see it in there.
There's levels to this.
Yeah.
So we got to stick on Kayla a little bit here. You had Don Davis on your show, and he couldn't stay away from the fact to give her a backhanded compliment. He's done it so many times. PFL fucking put her loss, I believe it was, on they aired that or some shit before the UFC307 on Saturday night. Like, dude, this while that came out, I was driving to go do the commentary, which there was some good up and comers there. The song "She's Gone" by Holland Oates came on the car. I was like, oh my god, this guy definitely plays this fucking song every night before he goes to sleep. Because he's just like, that's the one that got away for this guy. He needs to stop, man. He does need to stop.
He can't
He's gone away.
a weight class for her there, So like, when they only have one person to really build the weight class around her and Pacheco and then Cyborg,
but listen,
there's nothing.
Yeah, like he's trying to say, oh, she ran away. She didn't run away from nothing. Like let's play it. Let's say he was in her situation. Okay, let's say that he's a promoter. He's acquired the UFC. Let's say he wins the war. He acquires the UFC. This is all semantics, and ESPN says you can only go forward with one promotion and one roster, but you get to decide. And now let's just break it down here. So the UFC, I wrote this down, or PFL is worth $1 billion, and the UFC is worth $11.3 billion. And on top of that, actually, this part's a little bit closer than I thought, but the UFC has 447,000 pay-per-view buys on average a year, on average per pay-per-view event, where the PFL has about 336 to 340,000 views for their non-pay-per-views. So it's like, you as a businessman, which one are you going to go forward with? You're going to go forward with the brand that's going to make you more money. You're going to go forward with whatever you want to do. She already accomplished over there. She already accomplished her world championship. So he just needs to go away, go build more stars, whatever.
Hold up. Remember why he's mad, though? He's mad because he was hoping to get a mega fight with Kayla and Cyborg. That's what he's crossing his fingers on. Because more than anything, that would have been like the Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall type of fight, where you had the 2 big dogs fighting, and that's what he's hoping for. Because he's hoping he can get maybe 1, maybe 2 fights out of Cyborg. Because he's probably paying a lot of money. But Kayla was like, you know what? I see a better opportunity, and now he's bitter. That's all I can think of because
Exactly. I get it, but like say it once. We're going on like a year now. Like,
yeah.
He's missing. See dollar signs that he's missing out on. Because look, you got
I've been saying that all week.
Hinan versus Ngannou. Now that card is, could you imagine Hinan versus Ngannou and then having, Jake Paul there? Then you got Cyborg versus Kayla Harrison. That would be a stacked card. I'm not saying that people would purchase it, but for him, he probably thought that he might could have made some moves with that card like that. But of course, he's bitter because Kayla's doing the thing. And
you're gonna see that guy. You're gonna see that guy. We had the biggest amount of views on Stream East ever.
Yeah, but he fucked that up because there was a time when he had all them together. When he had them together, they were all signed into PFL together, and they didn't do nothing with it. There was a moment where he had all them together, and they didn't do anything with it. And I said that I was thinking to myself, like, they've got Francis Ngannou, Kayla Harrison, Jake Paul signed right now. And Cyborg, they need to, whatever it's going to cost them, put together a card that's going to rival a UFC card right now.
I bet you Kayla was on her way out, though. I bet you Kayla was on her way out by then.
She probably was, but they could have lured her in for some money.
There's no way she didn't have one foot out the door, but she was all about the Cyborg fight. I remember that.
This, right? Check this out. So we'll think about this. They re-sign her. So they would talk her into resigning for one fight and probably get it locked for 4 or 5 more fights. Why would you want to do that when you had a chance to go do something else in the UFC where you're fighting for a legitimate title? And you can defend that legitimate title. Because say you beat Cyborg, then what's next? Then you beat Pacheco, then what's next? So she made the right move for her own career. And, look at it.
She already beat Pacheco twice. Or maybe even 3 times.
No, Pacheco beat her last. But that was at a different weight class. That's at 145.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there's no doubt. There's no doubt she made the right move, and it's unfair. It's unfair for Don Davis to put this moral compass on her to make her feel bad about making the right decision by saying, "Oh, you're doing it for validation." That's a shitty thing to do. I think that was pretty shitty.
That was not versus promoter. Promoters are always shit. Think about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If the moment she loses, he's gonna be like, "Yeah, see, you should stay with us." If she loses, I'm not saying she's going to, but promoters will always do that. Look at De La Hoya. De La Hoya and Canelo. Yeah. Man, De La Hoya tried to kill Canelo whenever he can. They hate each other.
Yeah.
They're the same relationship.
So two last fights I want to get into. We get into them simultaneously. I don't have to break them up. Kevin Holland, Roman Dolidze, Stephen Thompson, and Joaquin Buckley. Any major takeaways from these fights from either of you guys? Well, I'll come to you first, Mo.
Dolidze and Holland, nothing, because I saw Holland doing some good work. Dolidze got a takedown, doing some ground and pound, and then Holland's rib popped. That's messed up. Buckley, man, like, he made the right move. He made the right move, man. Like, I was shocked because Wonder Boy is like, hard to catch. He made the right move, man, and now he wants to fight Usman, is what I'm hearing. So he's calling out the right people. I was shocked to see him do so well at 170, and he jumped in the deep end and started succeeding.
Ryan?
Well, Buckley does call out the right people. I was just pissed that he didn't call out Daniel Cormier again. Mo, I'm all behind that bullshit. I'm all behind that trend. That I at first thought it was so stupid. I think it's great. I think it's great TV. But I guess they squashed their beef. Anyway, yeah, the Dolidze Holland thing, man. I saw on social media people were giving Kevin shit. This is where like MMA fans are the worst, man. Like, you just don't know. And he might even tore his cartilage. It could have been torn cartilage or broken rib, whatever. That is the most painful shit you have ever experienced, and the most dangerous shit to fight through, no less. Yeah, it's really sucked that happened. Maybe they run it back. As much as I think that Roman, if it got to the ground, he would have handled business. I took nothing from that fight because of the situation. Yeah, hopefully they run it back. I like those guys.
How about Joaquin Buckley?
Oh, Joaquin? No, I thought that, as we said, Stephen Thompson's getting a little older, so it's a little bit easier to catch him with some of that stuff. I think that fighting Usman is a very smart fight, especially because if he wins, it really projects him. A safer fight. I don't doubt Usman, but his knees aren't what they were, I guess. But I think that I think it's a great fight. I think that he's doing the right thing with his career.
Yeah, I gotta give it to him, man. When you talk about people's career, Mo, you alluded to this earlier in terms of fighting them crazy wild type fights. So you can only do them for a little bit of your career, because you got to know where you're at in your career and you got to take advantage of where you're at in your career. And right now, Joaquin Buckley is doing everything right for where he's at in his career. And it leads up like him taking that fight against Nursultan in his hometown, him making the call out to get a fight in his hometown. And now him getting this Stephen Wonderboy Thompson fight. He was losing the fight. Wonderboy looked great. Wonderboy didn't look almost 40. Wonderboy looked really good. And Joaquin made the adjustments in the fight to really get to him. As the fight, that's important to remember, that he was losing that fight when this happened. Joaquin is doing a lot for his career, and I'm happy for him because he'll be able to look back and say, I made a lot of good choices. Now, there's no way in hell Kamaru Usman fights him. There is no way Kamaru accepts that. Kamaru is like, I got like one fight left, and I want it to be a title shot. And if it's not going to be a title shot, give me like an older guy. There is no way in hell he allows himself to share the cage with Joaquin Buckley. If he does,
would he do it at 185, you think?
No.
Probably not, because then Joaquin probably be more explosive.
Yeah, so 170.
Yeah, Joaquin is going to fight at once. And I think that Joaquin Buckley beats Kamaru Usman if they were to fight. And that would set Joaquin up for, some title shot shit. And it would be interesting to see how he does against, Bilal or a guy like Leon Edwards and these other guys. So,
yeah, but I'm not. But here's the thing, right? You can't count Usman out. With his not fight IQ and his wrestling, anything can happen. You can control him, but Buckley is hot though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, he's hot. He's hot right now.
He's hot.
I love it. Well, fellas, the storm is coming. I hope you guys are safe. We probably won't get hit too bad down here, but you never know, man. These storms, sometimes they're bigger than we expect, and they take wild turns and do wild different things that are unpredictable. But I hope you guys stay safe. I appreciate you as always.
Oh, I forgot something. I'm sorry. I know I did this last week too. I'm terrible. So at the fights, people are noticing us. They asked us about the felon, and we haven't done one in a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you have a felon?
I do. Now, this was an amateur fight, but you know what? I appreciate it. Coach came up to me and said, how about my boy for your felon? Jimmy Washington asked Jiu-Jitsu in Lakeport. He did look phenomenal. He had his last sessions lightweight championship. And he's turning pro, has fantastic striking, fantastic cage poise, knows when and where to use his grappling. And we're going to see a lot of that kid. Looking forward to Jimmy Washington. Check him out.
Jimmy Washington, we got you on the radar, my brother. All right, well, if you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit like, share, and subscribe. I want to thank King Mo for joining us. Ryan Quinn, as always. Let's do it again. We'll be back next week. And on that, this court is adjourned.